Flight boss, bitch, you know, for sure. You're not listening to the Mind of an Antares Moon. I'm the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And right now, this video, and look, I'm gonna go live in like an hour. And the reason why I said an hour, because I need to charge this phone. And you know, the fucking computers and indigos come do a bunch of crazy little shit, and I don't want to leave the possibilities open for any fucking energy vampires or no indigos to come shut my shit down. So I choose not to put it on the motherfucking charger as I'm going to motherfucking live. But for the most part, it's going to take about an hour for the shit to charge. And this video right here is going to be a good segue into the motherfucking live. So y'all going to know what the live is about. But this is a good segue right here because a lot of people lost in a bunch of like, you know, paganism type shit and polytheism and monotheism to the point that they only start to get concepts of thinking that everything is made from the top down or everything is made from the head first. And then here's when we get stuff like the science of the pineal gland, the pineal gland and things of that nature. And I need y'all to understand that these things are not what y'all think they are. These things are not what these people are teaching you these things are. These things are not nothing more, nothing less but pieces of your consciousness. These things are consciousness, lower shapes and forms of consciousness that you have created for yourself. But you know, my channel is about the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension. So that's a good segue into this shit, because you'll start to believe, going with monotheism and polytheism, you'll start to believe that everything was created with the head first. So you'll start to you'll start to think that all knowledges and all sciences of the sun is correlated with the head, and that's not actually what's actually going on, and is even leading and spilling into spirituality into the Eastern systems. Because then when you get the knowledge of your chakra systems and things of that nature, when we start to hear the science of the crown chakra and things of that nature, they're correlating that to the sun. Like when they start to correlate it to astrology or the planets, and that's not actually what's going on. What's actually going on is the solar plexus is correlated to the sun, and actually the solar plexus is one of the first conscious bodies you create for yourself. But you came here through a Merkaba, and the Merkaba is the moon, and the moon is the your mind or your state of movement or motion, mind, your state of mind that you have to resonate with in order to come into a realm of reality. So that's your transparent, lightest conscious body you create for yourself first. And with that mind or Merkaba or your spaceship, right, that gets to float through the astral realm, and it goes through different spaces and location based upon resonation. And then throughout that body, once you go into an astral realm, you find a light greater than that transparent one. You get to develop with that transparent moon light body, Merkaba body, mind body. You get to correlate and start to create your first man, or your first what they call that son, or your first, and this is for male and females what I'm talking right now, but you create your first son, or you say let there be light there, or you create your first conscious body, and this will be your first conscious body that you could go into to be consciously aware of yourself in that realm of reality after you have already created your feminine body, which was your moon, your Merkaba. So then that becomes your solar plexus. Now remind you, these things are gaining traction and information based upon resonation, and that's not even a word, but I created it. But you know, based upon what it resonate with. So that's not so. Your conscious gets developed based upon what you resonate with, but what you resonate with actually travels you through that space and location. Once you go through that space and location, the astro dust or whatever y'all want to call it scientifically, you start to take these things and start to create your conscious bodies, your lightest bodies, your gassy bodies around that shit based upon the information you resonate with as a spirit. Then once you create your moon, your Merkaba, that travels you through there from that light body, your feminine light body. Then you create your masculine light body based upon the elements of the being that was there before you, aka the astral or the universe, whatever y'all want to call it. Then boom, you create your sun, but that be your solar plexus. Now they're controlled based upon your resonation. Now once you got that solar plexus, now you're able to be consciously aware of yourself, and then once you go through these experiences, you're able to add layers, add light, aka information, suns, or more consciousness, and then through that you start to develop information and experiences and wisdom, and then that start to take shape and form, and then now that's when you start to create body forms and bodies, and then that's when y'all get to y'all pineal glands and shit like that, and shit that y'all want to call. But all that started from a center, the center of yourself, and the first center bodies was your Merkaba, your moon body, which will be the crown chakra. the elusive one that you don't see, that's unapparent, that's transparent, and then that correlates and give the information and created your solar plexus one, and then the solar plexus bounce and vibrate and start to create all your other light bodies, which y'all will call today as y'all Mercury's, Hermes, or y'all or y'all Thos, or y'all, you know what I'm saying, all the way back to the, you know what I'm saying, y'all want to go to Aries. Aries ain't no more than the Yahweh God. That's Aries. You see what I'm saying? So I know about all that shit. Then that's Mars. Then that's the Ram. It played out to the animal. Listen, man, we gonna get. I don't want to even get deep because I want to go live for all that shit. But for the most part, this video right here is about the Auva constellation. The Auva, AUVA. And shout out to Ashley because whoever she is, I just need a natal reading for her, and she just I was aware of this, but you know, when you recite things and go back over things, you be aware, you see something that you ain't see before. So you know what I'm saying? Shout out to you. Just doing her natal reading brought me to this prospect right here. I mean, this aspect. Because we already know Spica. Now Spica, we already know that's in the constellation of Virgo, right? So it's like in the left wing or in the left hand, and it's dealing with the wheat or the bread, or you know what I'm saying, the physical representation. So now we're dealing with stars. Now the actual creation of the Virgo constellation is Auva, the fixed star Auva, because this is the solar plexus. This is the solar plexus. It's in the stomach of the Virgo constellation. So we'll let you know right now. So that'll let you know the spirit that reside in that shape and form, that vehicle, that star at the moment is the same spirit that resonate with the energy of being a solar plexus of a being. So that's one of the first bodies that a spirit will create. So for the most part, it jumped into that space, that area and location, and started to formulate all the stars and all the stuff out of the space. So it was like one of the first stars that was in the Virgo constellation, because for the most part it is the main star. It's the main star. When you talk about all the other stars from an outside point of view looking in as a spirit, it's like that's just one thing that's led by the head, the star, and the moon will be the tail. You know what I'm saying? So the head will be the sun, the tail will be the moon. So it's like the masculine, feminine. But before we get to that, you know, the Auva, you could go do your research on this. Go to Constellation of Words. Now, anytime you get a star that's in the center of a being, whether it's an animal or a human, whatever drawn figure, but because you know the beginning figures, you could go all the way back to the ancient Sumerians, or if you want to talk about the Numa Elise or things of that nature, all these are just drawn out periods of time. So that's what y'all need to understand too. What you are going to see is a common theme of either a bird and a snake, and that's going to be the common theme, other than all the other hieroglyphics, the Egyptian hieroglyphics and things of that nature. What you need to understand is these people seen themselves as the snake, and they seen themselves as becoming a bird, because the snake have no legs. So the snake is earthbound, so it's walking amongst the earth. The bird fly, so it's like the eagle, or it's like rising to the phoenix. So this is where they start to correlate a lot of their fire energy and their water energies and things of that nature. And through these periods of times, which was like the little angles that y'all was seeing, that y'all gonna see if you do any research amongst, you know, like ancient Sumer and Thoth and all this shit, and way back in the Egyptian hieroglyphics and shit like that, where people trying to decipher these things of that nature. But what you really need to be understanding is they're basically astrologers, but this is the way how they was calculating their periods of times. But you need to understand how they was looking at it. So for the most part, the bird was representing their higher self, or how to rise above the circumstance, and the snake was actually representing themselves and what they're actually going through. The shapes and the sigils was actually them pointing out the alignments or the angles that they see within the sky. So that's going to be the transit or the period, or the period of time or the experience that the snake rising to the bird is going to be experiencing at that time. So this is why when you see a lot of their hats and their helmets and things of that nature, is correlated to the serpent. You know what I'm saying? And then they correlate a lot of their animalistic natures to the animals that they see walked amongst the earth, and they correlated a lot of their spiritual natures to the animals that they see flying amongst the earth, which will be like owls or eagles or things of that. I mean, it goes deep, but I don't even. That's a whole nother video right there. This video right here is about Auva, and you know what I'm saying, because she had a name way back then. Just like me, Archangel Uriel, my name was Celtic, or it goes way back. I don't even want to go that far back, but it's just how we're thinking about it in this civilization. Every civilization is just the same. It's just how we calculating it now. So right now, the new age, the new way of explaining it, the new names, the new shit will be the new way and the new best way to explain people some energies that been going on way before. So don't get lost into saying, no, this is the real way we're supposed to look at it because this is the language and this is the way they seen it. They seen the shit the same way we see it now. This is just the way how we just got added on shit, and the shit how we see it is the same shit though. You see what I'm saying? So the Auva constellation, well, not the Virgo constellation, you're talking about the solar plexus. So anytime you're dealing with a star that's dealing with the solar plexus of an animal or a man-like being of a constellation that we have drew out, it's going to be correlated to a yellow star or orangey star, right? Because anytime we dealing with the solar plexus, it's talking about the solar plexus. So even when you talk about getting into Eastern knowledge, getting mixed up with Western knowledge, and then they say the sun is correlated to the crown chakra, but then the solar plexus is still yellow. So, and then when you talk about the sun is yellow. So you see what I'm saying? When we talk about sun stars, everything is stars. When we talk about yellow stars in general, these are just optimistic stars that like to utilize optimistic, or they like to rise, or they like to utilize energies to be seen, and they like to lead. So they like to lead with positive energy. So that's correlated with the masculine energy. Now that could be detriment because too much masculine energy could cause friction, and and then that'll lead a nation of not going within themselves and only going without, only going towards things that's being seen. See, and it plays out into the intellect, into the psychology of things. How y'all even live y'all life amongst whatever sun that's up under y'all. Now, I need y'all to understand, y'all don't have to necessarily be up under a yellow sun. It was one time that y'all was up under a purple star. That was Saturn at the time. Y'all call Saturn the sun because y'all only know the sun name as the sun being now. So y'all only know how to correlate, oh, we're talking about the sun. So y'all even get into psychology flaws of thinking that the sun and the star are something separate. And that's for heavy religious people or something like that, where a sun is a star. That's what you need to understand. They are stars. No two snowflakes, no two people, no two stars the same. They all got their own energy and access based upon space and location and positioning and where they came from. So when we talk about Spica and when we talk about Auva, these are stars from the actual west. Now these are stars from where I'm from, as Archangel Uriel, the fixed star Antares. So these stars are where I'm from. So a lot of knowledge and shit that they carrying is from actually here. But a lot of we're basically in a space and location mixed and mingle amongst a bunch of Eastern stars. So a bunch of Eastern stars was in this rotation in space first. So a lot of Eastern science and knowledge and spirituality and religion is going to have the first force here. First control here. You know what I'm saying? First magnetism here. So the first energy and the first magnetic spirals is going to be correlated to all that signature dealing with the space and location that we are in. So even the rotation and spirals is going to correlate towards Eastern first. This is why you even write from the left to the right first. It was one time that people was trying to write to the left, but these people will be seen as opposing. I don't want to even get into that. That's something else and shit like that. But for the most part, because you would think that would be the start, and that is the start. But I'm going to let you know why that is the start based upon the Virgo constellation and the space and the location that we are in at the moment. Now, like I said, a lot of Eastern stars was here first. So a lot of Eastern stars mixed and mingled with a lot of foreign stars, aka Western stars, Northern stars. The stars that's not foreign from here is the Eastern and the Southern stars. So this is why y'all correlate with the Centaur constellation, the Southern Crux constellation, all the constellations that's dealing with the serpents, and all the constellations that go do your research on constellation of words. I'm trying to give y'all some game right now. You see what I'm saying? And all the constellations that's dealing with the foundation of what we're on, and all the constellations that's dealing with the foundation of where they coming from and what they trying to go to and what they trying to see. And then we catching a lot of energy spirals from stars that already came from the motherfucking east. So these motherfuckers already been in this space and location first. That's why y'all got a lot of death and a lot of motherfucking spirits that like to come here and rule the concept of death. You know what I'm saying? And try to tell you that they're rising from it. So this is how they're giving you the confusion that you can't do that, but they're doing it first. So the beings that have done that has ascended and became stars now. So you worship the spirits that's in those shapes and forms at the moment. But for the most part, they mix and mingle with a bunch of Eastern stars. So here's where you're going to get the concept of the physical form that got created from the fallen or the western stars and things of that, or the northern stars, right? But spirits that have went in them is spirits that have died from the stars or the physical vessels of eastern motherfuckers, the spirits of eastern motherfucker civilizations and things of that nature. So when they inhabit a western physical vessel, you get eastern knowledge, science, wisdom type of spirit, and playing out that spirit or personality through a daughter of man, aka a vessel, a human being, or a body that look like a body that got formulated from the fall or death or the western energy of things. So they look like you now. They look like somebody who take the shape and form of you, kicking some shit, some old shit that they try to keep power here up under so it don't lose power, and then the sun stop rising on the motherfucking east, and then that sun dissipate and transform, then we get another motherfucker that's rising on the west now. You see what I'm saying? And setting on the goddamn east. But what you need to understand is, since it's rising on the east, that vortex and energy spiral and signature and theology and ideas and people, places and things and shapes and forms that come from that whole idea is still in control right now. So that's still what wakes you up every goddamn with ideas, and that's in your goddamn mind. But getting to Auva is the solar plexus. So Auva and the fixed star Auva, that's in the Virgo constellation, actually made it sextile or had a relationship of alignments of lights with the fixed star Spica. And with the fixed star Spica, you get with their relationship, they formulated a orb in the middle. I said middle, but yeah, the orb in the middle. Now the orb in the middle start to take shape and form and start to become a star of itself, mixed with those informations of the physical information of Spica and Auva, right? Now the location we are in and the space, like I said, the spirit is the space. So like the space and location and the authorities that we are up under with the higher authority spirits is still an eastern motherfuckers. So what's ever up under their authority, they could go into that daughter of men as they motherfucking please. You see what I'm saying? So for the most part, as the shape and form get took from this orb, here's where you get the concept of the dragon, or you get the concept of in your Bible stories or revelation or things of that nature of a dragon being slung or something like that. No, what's actually happening is the birth of the actual sun that we're up under right now. Now, if you take everything that I was just talking about and apply it to right now, you can see that a sun have died and transformed, and another spirit have went into another transformation that represent that same fourth, fifth, or sixth dimensional level of life. And then this is what y'all see actually today that y'all live up under. So 2,000 years ago, this is where you get the concept in your religious Bibles, where you hear the story of there was a woman, there were signs in the sky, and there was a woman who was clothed with the sun, and she had the moon on her foot or something like that, or this, that, and the third, which you're actually seeing as a birth. You're seeing and we go through that space and location every year on a smaller level, but it happens on a larger level when the actual alignment happens at that same period of time. And this is where you get in September, and then y'all get those spookism stories of things of that nature. But what's actually happening is stars are always being born. Same way you are born. You are a star. Stars are always being born. When someone die here, when someone dies, someone being born. You see what I'm saying? So stars is always, you're always going to see a fucking rainbow in the sky, or you're always going to see a fucking star be born, or you're always going to witness an alignment. That ain't nothing but a star being born. This is why people die every day and someone's being born every day. And in this dimension, you see an animal or a plant or a person being born. In another dimension, you see a star or another twinkle, twinkle little star in the goddamn sky. So for the most part, that's 2,000 years ago. The sun that we're up under today have came here and got born from the Auva and the Spica constellation. Auva is A-U-V-A. I'm just pronouncing it as Auva, but you know, they mingled together and gave birth to that physical star, and then through the constellation of Virgo and that family, a constellation of people and stuff like that, gave birth to the rising of what y'all want to call a lot of the stories today. It may be Jesus Christ, it may be another story, it may be another story, it may be another story, all the way back down to y'all want to say Gilgamesh or some shit. It really don't even fucking matter. But it's just if you go back all the way to 2,000 years ago, it's just is the sun that y'all up under being born right now. Now all the physical people that portrayed and channeled the energy, and like I said, the sun is your consciousness, how you act, how you consciously see things, the things that you pay attention to. So if at that time it was that kind of conscious, right, you have a lot of people aka being born up under that sun, up under that conscious. So they consciously see things like that. So whoever accessed that conscious way of seeing, whoever accessed or channel that way better than everybody else, they end up having better actions than everybody else at that time. This is why it's important to know your sun sign. Now, you have many different beings who then tapped into the spirit and called it many different things. So now you got Christ consciousness, you got other kind of consciousness, but it's really just the first conscious vehicle that you create. And that if you are a spirit that was traveling through this space and location with that overall spirit, that overall space, you up under that, you was birthed under that family. So the first conscious body you're going to create for yourself to be aware of yourself is going to revolve similar type information like that shit. So you come here up under that kind of system. So you could, and then if you are a late bloomer, aka you being born in 2018 or in the 1950s or the 1940s or the 1930s or you born around that time, 9 times out of 10 you carrying out old consciousness. So you are old spirit. So when you come here, you want to carry out the duties and obligations of an old civilization that was ran by a president or a god or a king or a pharaoh, that, and the way that they ran that civilization was in a monotheistic kind of way, where they was like, okay, no, I'm the only God. So I'm the only one that's rulershiping right now. So everybody who was ruled at that period of time and all the spirits, y'all motherfuckers is still here. You know what I'm saying? Because that sun ain't actually died and transformed yet. But for the most part, it's getting ready to die and transform. But I may be getting a little too deep for y'all motherfuckers. But for the most part, to understand deep constellation to the point that you don't have to rely on man words and their perspectives on it, and you can dive in, astral travel yourself, and experience that realm of reality for yourself. And I'm gonna show y'all how to do that, and therefore you can start to dissect and see where things actually came from. Now you're not gonna be able to even go on Google nowhere and be like, where was our sun that we under was born at? Where was it? When was it born? How was it born? And how did it get here? But you're not going to get that on nowhere. But I just sat here and broke that down to you. Now, when you go back and look at all your stories, it's going to correlate to what the fuck I'm talking about. It ain't the other way around. It ain't what I'm talking about, what y'all talking about. Then we got to go into doctrines. Then I got to be a form of what they call that? The domination. When they got so much separate shit, I gotta have a title or a name in order to even be respected, to have a conversation or to have a debate. Then we get into all that shit. Then I gotta have references and shit like that. Where no, I'm Archangel Uriel. Let's get that process, motherfucker. We fuck all y'all theologians and all that shit. Listen, look, whatever y'all talking about what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about what y'all talking about. I don't have to get lost in y'all books and shit like that to understand something. No, y'all talking about what I'm talking about. Now, when you go back to going to what you was lost in, you're gonna go back to my video right now and be like, oh goddamn, now it all make fucking sense. So if you want to know where the actual sun at and take all the spooky stories away from it, like it being a dragon and something being flung and something being a constellation, and that constellation is the woman, or no, what we're talking about is 2 fixed stars. If we ain't got no name for these lights, let's just call them stars. And the name that we're gonna give them now is the name that astronomers has pointed to. Now, astronomers has pointed to and called it the fixed star Auva, but it's just a space and location that's carrying out a certain energy signature and creating shapes and forms and lights and gases out of that shit. Now it's the solar plexus of the constellation. It's the center of the constellation Virgo, Auva, and then you got one on the left wing, which is the bread and butter, which is Spica. Right now, bread and butter that comes together, which is the shape and form. Then you got the solar plexus, the lighter body. Then when they come together in vortex, they create other different shapes and forms, and that's that orb in the middle centered out, and boom, 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 and became the motherfucking sun that you see today. That's up under us. That was born 2,000 years ago. So this is where all the forms of information and information and consciousness that y'all can even write down from that, the start of that. Now we getting slowly but surely into another one, in another position. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to tell y'all that one. But for the most part, I'm telling y'all the birth of this sun. Flight boss, bitch, goddamn air, and it's so much deeper than that. But I gotta stop this and let my phone charge, or I ain't gonna be able to go live. Now I'm gonna have to go live like 10:30 or something, or 11 o'clock. Goddamn, flight boss, bitch, air.